Hi, I'm Andy and welcome to a WatchCrave video. Today, we will be having a look at a hidden gem of a watch, the Seiko SRPD97. I stumbled upon this watch purely by chance while searching for an alternative to the iconic SRB033. As many of you already know, the SRB033 is a versatile and beloved watch that's been discontinued. It's actually one of the two watches I regret not purchasing when I had the chance. Not only it is impossible to find a new SRB033 anymore, but the price for a used one has almost doubled, turning what was once a great value watch into something quite unattainable. Not keen on paying a premium for a second-hand watch, I had to look for alternatives. During my search for an alternative, I came across the SRPD99, which looks strikingly similar to the SRB033. It instantly shot up to the top of my list. A quick Google search then led me to the white version, the SRPD97, which immediately became my number one choice. These two watches were released in 2019 as part of the short-lived Japanese Garden collection. This collection unfortunately flew under the radar, and rightfully so. Most of the collection was underwhelming and under-spec. It couldn't capture the hype compared to other standout models like the Baby Snowflake, the Urushi dial, and of course, the SRB033. Given that these watches were a limited release from almost 5 years ago, finding a retailer that still had them in stock was a challenge, let alone at a good price. Luckily, I discovered a small retailer in Japan with one last piece in stock. The only catch? They only accept Japanese payment methods and only ship domestically. After jumping through a few hoops, I successfully bought the watch and had it delivered to my doorstep. In terms of variations, as I mentioned before, there are only two to choose from, the white SRPD97 and the black SRPD99. For the price, I couldn't pinpoint the exact price for the US, but they were retailing for around $520 excluding tax. Being an older release, availability is going to be limited. However, you should be able to track down a few with a bit of searching. If you're lucky, there may be one hiding in the back room of your local Seiko retailer. For the packaging, since I got mine from Japan, the watch comes with the Japanese packaging. First we have the usual outer Seiko box. Inside that is an inner grey watch box along with a manual and warranty. The inner watch box is grey on the outside and sort of tan on the inside. Now with all of that out of the way, let's check out the watch dimensions and specs. The watch has the diameters of 38.3mm, it is 11.2mm thick, including the watch glass. The lug width is 20mm. The lug-to-lug distance is 43.6mm, making this watch a great fit for smaller size wrists. For the watch glass, this was where I was pleasantly surprised by the watch. Despite being an entry-level piece, we actually have a domed sapphire crystal instead of the usual hard legs. For the water resistant, the watch has a water rating of 30 meters. With a few links removed to fit my 6.2-inch wrist, the watch weighs in at 109 grams. It's a pretty comfortable weight for a dress watch on a bracelet. For the movement, this watch is running with the Seiko 4R35 movement. The 4R35 is an entry-level Seiko workhorse movement that has a beat rate of 3Hz or 21,600 beats per hour. It offers a power reserve of around 40 hours and features a day complication. It also hacks and hand-wind. In terms of accuracy, the stated accuracy range is -35 to +40 seconds per day. For this particular watch, I measured it running at +11 seconds per day. Next up, let's have a look at the watch exterior and design. For the case, we have an oval-shaped case, often seen in dressier watches. It has a mirror polish finish on the top and sides. There's no fancy chamfered edges, but the sides do have a nice bevel down to the bottom of the case. The lugs are finished to a similar degree, and since this is a dress watch, there are normal lugs instead of the drill one you've seen in Seiko divers. I almost forgot about the bezel. It's polished like the rest of the case and has a nice curvature to it. Onto the back of the case, we have a screw-down display case back. The glass on the case back is hard legs. There is some decorative text along with a serial number printed on the case back. You also notice that we have a gold-colored rotor on the movement. While the 4R35 is a pretty bare-bone and uninteresting movement, having a display's case back with a gold rotor does make it look more attractive in my opinion. Moving on to the crown, we have a simple push and pull crown with a polished finish. The crown itself is easy to grip and operate very smoothly. Last but not least, the crown is signed. Honestly, I was pleasantly surprised by the signed crown here, as none of the crowns on the Prospect divers I've reviewed were signed. For the bracelet, we have a pseudo 5-link style bracelet. Unlike a proper 5 links, all the links are fixed and don't articulate by themselves. They are also held together by a pin and collar system. These are definitely cost-cutting measures, but understandable at this price point. The middle two arms of the links are polished, and the rest are brush finish. The sides of the bracelet are also polished, but the back is left pretty bare bone. On a positive note, the degree of articulation is pretty good, and there is a small taper from 20mm down to 18mm. Onto the clasp, we have a butterfly button push clasp. The clasp blends in pretty well with the bracelet. There's no micro adjustments, but we do have 2 half links, so it should be possible to get a decent fit. Overall, the bracelet is very wearable and isn't actually too bad if you consider the price. Now, let's talk about the dial. It's definitely the standout feature of this watch. The base of the dial has a frosted texture that reminds me of the white gravel you find in a Zen garden. We've got a ply and faceted indices here, a double index at the 12 o'clock, and single ones for the other hours. The sides are polished and the top shares the same frosted texture as the dial. Below the 12 o'clock, there's a mirror polished Apply Seiko logo, and above the 6 o'clock, you see the Presage in automatic text printed in black. At the 3 o'clock, there's a nicely framed white date window with a little index next to it. A cool detail is that even the date frame has that frosted texture. I didn't actually notice this until I put it under the macro lens. Seiko really nailed the details here, especially for an entry-level Presage. For the hands, we got leaf-style hour and minute hands, and a needle-style second hand in blue, which looks great against the white dial. It's probably chemically painted blue instead of heated blue, which makes sense for this watch. The minute and second hands also have a slight downward curves at the tip, making it easier to read the time accurately. Lastly, there's a simple white chapter ring at the edge, which also acts as the rehaul. I have to say, I'm not a big fan of this chapter ring, as it looks a bit cheap and doesn't really match the beautiful dial. For the wrist fit, this being a sub 40mm watch means that it fits perfectly on my 6.2-inch wrist. It's a perfect dress watch for those with a wrist size smaller than 7 inches. The bracelet, despite being rather average, is still quite comfortable to wear and doesn't look half bad. I reckon if you need more comfort or make it look even more dressy, you can always chuck on a black leather strap. So, what are my thoughts about this watch? Like I mentioned at the start, this watch is a real gem, but it does have a few flaws. First is the bracelet. While I understand the cost-saving pseudo 5 links design, the pin and collar system for sizing was a big hassle. Adjusting it was a pain, and I would have preferred screws or even split pins, which are easier to handle. Then there's the butterfly clasp. It's a bit tricky compared to a simple push button clasp. Takes more effort to put on, to be honest. However, it does come with 2 half links, which is better than the usual Seiko push clasp that only offers 2 micro adjustments and no half links. Next is the chapter ring. It looks a bit cheap and plasticky and doesn't match the dial aesthetic. This mismatch takes away from the overall look and could have been done better to fit with the dial. Lastly is the movement. The 4R35 is a solid entry-level movement, but I think a 6R15 would have been better, as it offered better performance and accuracy, fitting more with the watch quality. However, I get that a 6R movement would have made the watch pricier. Now, let's talk about the good stuff. This watch has a lot of great features, making it an excellent choice, especially for those with smaller to medium wrist sizes. First, the dimensions are just right. With its 38mm case, it fits comfortably and looks balanced on a smaller wrist like mine. It doesn't overpower the wrist, making it great for everyday wear. Another nice feature is the sign crown. It adds a bit of elegance and attention to detail that you don't often see at this price point. It's a small touch, but it really enhanced the watch look and feel. Then there's the sapphire crystal. This is a top-notch feature, especially for an entry-level Presage. Sapphire crystal is very scratch resistant, keeping your watch and that dial looking great for a long time. It's a big upgrade over the more common Hardlex crystal. The display case back with a gold color rotor is also pretty cool. This allows you to appreciate the movement inside, and the gold color rotor adds a more interesting look to the somewhat boring movement. The case itself is also well finished. It has clean lines and a polished surface that reflects light beautifully, adding to the watch overall elegance. And finally, the dial is simply stunning. It has a beautiful texture that catches the light in a mesmerizing way. All the elements of the dial, like the indices and hands, have been executed exceptionally well and with a greater attention to detail. This dial really stands out, giving the watch a unique and sophisticated appearance. It's something you have to see in person to fully appreciate. Overall, despite a few minor drawbacks, the pros of this watch far outweighs the cons. It offers incredible value for its price, making it a great choice if you're looking for a simple and beautiful dress watch to add to your collection. And that brings us to the end of this video. What do you think about this watch? Are you interested in getting your hands on one? If you already got one, what are your thoughts about the watch? Feel free to drop a comment down below and let us know. I hope this video was helpful to you in some ways. If you enjoy watching it, please drop a like and subscribe for future videos. As a growing channel, I really appreciate your support. Until next time.